Hey guys, we are Team Covenant, and we're here with an exclusive Fantasy Fight preview for the Game of Thrones card game, and we're amped about it because it's really special. You know why? Because it's a river plot.
It's a river plot.
It is.
And it's actually really good, so you're going to love it. And
Or hate it.
Or hate it, depending on who you are, and I'm going to make a lot of cases for hating this card. But let's dive right into it, shall we? So we already have Crossing the Ruby Ford, which is a good river plot as well. And this is Crossing the Mummers Ford, a 3/1/1.
My bad.
These days, kind of some lame stats. It is a river, though. When revealed, reveal the top X cards of your deck and add them to your hand. X is the number of river plot cards in your used pile. Hold the phone. We got a card draw effect, essentially. Even better than a card draw effect.
It is better.
It's amazing.
And as we've learned extensively about Game of Thrones, when you have more cards, you do well.
Having cards usually means you win. So card draw is you always want card draw, and this is a step up from card draw because it's put in your hand. So if you're already drawing, you just get to put more cards in hand. I can think of any number of my decks that would love to have this. Obviously, the drawback is it's totally based on you running river plots. So
obviously,
from the earliest river plots, I know when they first came out, they got a decent amount of hate. I was always of the stance, not hate, and probably rightfully so.
They're bad. They're bad.
But
they're not good.
my case from the beginning for river plots has been all they need is one or two powerful ones to make them insanely good. I still believe this. It reminds me, like...
Is your prophecy coming true? Is that what you're telling us? Is this finally the day where Zach looks back on those old videos and says,
"Aha, right."
See?
That's all they needed.
So I don't think it's true yet. And I'm going to be honest here.
So you're reneging on
I'm
that
not
prophecy?
reneging.
There's a case that could be made for this being the clincher, man.
Well, I think this is, imagine, just throwing it out there, a plot 6 where you have 5 used plots. And it's like, oh, you put 5 cards in your hand. That could be...
That's insane. That's a one-sided negotiations that you don't have to check your hand
it's better than
for.
negotiations.
It's
I have 0 cards and I get 5. Or I have 5
crazy.
and I have 10.
Yep.
Crazy.
Really absurd. So there is something to that. But at the same time, I want to win before plot 6. So that you have timing and the fact that you have to run rivers. So you have to run rivers and you have to be alive on plot 6 for this to be
I think you're a rarity in this game because it seems like...
like winning before plot 6.
With all the control and stuff, man, all my games have been plot 7 or more recently. Maybe that's just because I'm, running around with Greyjoy, just stick to the board kind of stuff and save my dudes. But I'm telling you, man, games feel longer than they have, unless you're playing like Noble Cause or something. But
maybe it's just me.
Zach's not playing Noble Cause.
You're a bird player too. You're supposed to make a game last for like 20 plots, and then they have the characters
I want to
alive.
burn you to the ground so that I just win by turn 5 or 6 is normal. That's a thing.
Yeah.
But can you make it to turn 6 running all river plots is the question.
That is the question.
For me, I think at the moment this card fits way better into a deck that's maybe running like red wine straights as you're open, one other river plot, and then it's like turn 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 you can draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
As opposed to a river plot deck. I
Absolutely.
think the city plots are good enough to run city plots. They do powerful effects.
Yes.
You think they are?
They are.
They seem to be doing okay.
With the river plots, I feel like this definitely helps, and it is helping make the case for river plots. But at the same time, I think they're still missing 1 or 2. Like if you had 1 or 2 insanely powerful rivers, this card becomes insanely good.
I think I'm feeling more and more that like rivers are not, they're in between cities and just like your average plot deck, where it's like maybe I run 3 rivers for like the mini combo of river plots whenever I need to cross the rivers forward, as it were. But to me what this does, and this is what I was doing in like Greyjoy aggro, where it's like, man, if I can just get cards, I generally can do really well. And it was, you do Shores of Nisar, you do that maybe turn 2 or turn 3, which is when reveal, draw a card, or reveal a card and grab it. And then you follow it up with like 5-3-1, Crossing the Ruby Ford, which is nice, high gold. You get to copy the card draw of Shores of Nisar, so now you've drawn, it's kind of like having Bay of Ice out. And then the next step of that equation is obviously this guy, Crossing the Ruby Ford, and now we get 2. So in that whole, my plot deck has given me 4 cards drawn. It's given me 2 3-gold plots and a 5-golder with a kind of a secondary discarded power from your opponent's house or whatever effect. So like that's a nice little combo if you don't have to include so much card draw in your deck itself, and you can kind of use this river plot deck to get you back going again when you've run out of cards could be pretty significant.
I think I want to add to that too, because imagine if you run a river that duplicates as the next plot in like replicating this.
Yeah.
So now you draw one, draw two, draw three. That's pretty significant.
Absolutely,
I mean, that's better than Long Voyage, and Long Voyage got kicked out of here.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. So I mean, there is something to be said for being able to draw like that throughout the game. However, to sacrifice your plots.
I mean, that's a hard thing to do.
To do that, I mean,
it's a hard thing to do.
I don't know. I feel like the thing that makes the city plots so good is that you have some kneel, you have some kill, you have some card draw potentially, and it's like they have different. They can help you do different things depending on the situation that comes up. Where in this case, it's like they're drawing you cards.
But here's also a little thing to throw out there for you guys. A little thought bomb. I played around with city plots for about 2 weeks.
That's a long time for you.
Greyjoy is not exactly the best at cities, both in lore and otherwise. But the problem also sometimes with city plots is that they're doing things that you don't need them to do. It's like, I know he's going to Valor, and all I can do is drop this Neely plot or drop this kill plot, and like that's just where in the chain I kind of am, and I don't have like a neutral kind of thing to worry about. But with these are never bad. Like, you getting more cards is never a problem for you. It's always good. It's self-contained. It's reliant only on your own deck being good for those cards to be good. So you don't have to have your opponent with things that you want to kneel or things that you want to kill on the board. You just get cards, and those are always good to have, always good options. So it is a bit more kind of freeing in that sense, that it doesn't rely on your opponent whatsoever for this plot cycle to be good. But yeah, as we said, like, more good plots keep coming out, and like the control effects of the plots themselves are crazy big. Like Rally Cry, giving up these kinds of things is hard, yeah. And
I mean, I think there's a case too to be made. Again, if you're already running something like Red Wine to open, or some river plot to open, and being able to draw a card. And the one thing I want to note on its importance is, I've had a lot of games where someone will negotiate on a turn where I've got no cards. And so, obviously...
How'd you let that happen?
It's just a thing, right?
I feel like I've been down that road.
Negotiations it's 2 initiative, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work right out of the box. But let's just say you're opening Red Wine because you play Hollow Hill.
I can't imagine anyone playing that trashy agenda these days.
And then it's like, if I get to the point where you could negotiate me, this is also, I was thinking of this as another use where you can basically sneak in a card draw before they negotiate, and then you get all to negotiate, which could be really handy.
Very sneaky.
But
that's why you're running this plot?
I don't know. I think this plot is really fantastic. Like, obviously, putting cards in hands is great. And for me, it's a matter of, are you already running other city plot cards or not? And if you are, this is a really obvious include to me. And if not, maybe you can make the case for Rivers. Maybe not.
I don't think it's
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Like, is this a potentially problematic thing where we already have Hollow Hill kind of like laid back control decks like that, board clears and whatnot, are not. I'm not at the point where I'm calling them an issue or anything. Like, some people are calling for restriction of Hollow Hill, and I'm not there yet. But it's obviously a very powerful archetype. And to this point, the one way that I've ever had success beating those kinds of decks is getting their hand empty. Like, that's the universal cure for that kind of deck, is empty the hand.
Gold Initiative don't do much when you have a bunch of it sitting around.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the point. And, burn decks, the one way you lose with burn, if you had all the cards in the world, you would never lose with burn. It's impossible. I mean, it's just too direct and obvious control. So, question being, is this going to be like the nail in the coffin, as it were, of making that not a reliable way to beat this deck anymore? And if you can't beat it by getting their hand depleted, then how are we going to beat these decks?
Well, I mean, I agree, but I also think that it's if you're
hot potato.
If you're gonna take that stance on this, double negotiations to me in burn. If you decide to run, like, I've often with my burn deck, which is super heavy intensive burn cards, consider dropping Hatchland's Feast to add double negotiation. Basically, it's give me 2 2-coin plots.
It's give you negotiation, and then
you can just refill that hand. Like, it's crazy.
Like butter.
It's crazy what you can do in that scenario. So I don't think this is any more potent. Like it's not as potent as a double negotiations in my opinion. Obviously, negotiations let your opponent do it as well,
It's
but
also restricted.
Pretty big, yeah.
it is restricted. But it's also, if you can get them out of hand and negotiate, it's kind of.
I'm just looking at, you're opening with red wine anyway, right? I mean, it's a classic Hollow Hill thing. So all that you need, and this is pretty common too, Befouled River is not out of the control player's reach because you almost always have the first turn or two of less cards at command.
Yep.
You drop in an awesome 2 claim, and now on your 4th, 5th turn when you need the refill, you get essentially 4 cards.
It's
after
good.
Draw phase.
It's super good.
Mhm.
I'm a little worried.
But
I'm just saying, I'm a
I
little
don't know.
worried.
I think it's good. I just don't think it's. I think it's maybe on par with some of the other options already out there.
That's fair.
Like
That's fair.
You have to give up a certain amount of other plots to
Yeah.
do this. So I don't know. I'm interested by it. I definitely want to try it.
Question to you, Robert. Is Floodwaters now an awesome card? The kneel to influence or warship to copy a river.
No, it is not.
Wait, tell me about this card.
It's a Greyjoy card.
Because I have
man.
influence. Is it a Greyjoy?
No,
only?
it's not a Greyjoy card.
Is it not Greyjoy
It's not a
only?
Greyjoy
I always
only.
thought it was Greyjoy only.
It just says warship, and
Probably
so
'cause the
people.
warship thing, yeah.
But since
You
that
can
one
also kneel to
cycle,
influence?
most houses, yeah.
To repeat a river?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See that's an interesting one.
But
But,
boy.
what
it's-
event slot are you going to
it's
give up
janky.
for that effect?
It is
though?
janky.
Dude, hold on. Think
But
about no Hollow Hill.
it's everyone's plot deck, so you can do your opponent's river plot effects.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
Sheesh.
okay, so Hollow Hill, if you open with red wine, I'm Hollow Hill, I have 2 influence. If I draw that card, I just get 4 gold for 2 influence.
That seems right.
And if it's later in the game,
Why do you need gold? You're Hollow Hill.
I'm just saying, like, it gold.
It becomes a 14
my
gold
deck in
pod.
particular plays a lot of shadow cards, and those are expensive.
Yeah.
And it's like, right now it's a 10 gold turn 1. If it's a 14 gold turn 1,
Yeah.
and then I followed up with this,
Well, you'll need to if you spend 14 gold in the
Yeah.
first turn.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, I didn't even know that was a card.
Yeah.
It's been tucked away in Steven's
That's the thing.
cards.
Yeah. It's been in the
No,
binder
it's-
forever.
It's a neutral. It's a neutral man.
That's fantastic.
Not great to own.
So I mean, it's
Ozark.
something, right? I mean, picture like
maybe
late game.
maybe we'll do it then.
It's like draw 3, and then I'm gonna pay 2 influence and draw 3 more.
I mean,
Mhm.
I think the
You
game
kidding?
is over if that happens. Any close game that gets 6 cards up, over.
Even a not close game with burn. If I
Yeah.
get 6 cards mid game,
Mhm.
I don't know that.
I
you-
have no idea how
it's
I
pretty
lose that
good.
game.
it's pretty.
Pretty good.
I mean, I'll spot you 14 power. Like,
You're just gonna have to start running all the
Winter
control
Festival.
plots. People have to start running rule by decrees and all these kinds of things.
I think rule by is the ultimate, and maybe this is the grand vision of the design. They cannot be canceled, like cannot be
Mhm.
screwed around with awesome 4 gold rule by decree.
Oh yeah.
We will have it when we need it.
You just have to
Um,
run response plots. It's rule buys, outwits, all those kinds of things, just to say now your plots now.
Yeah, and the good thing
No.
is that the roll by player will generally have initiative over something like this, so they can
Mhm.
trigger you first and then have you chuck cards. So that's pretty solid.
it's a thing.
There is a natural check there, and as long as roll buys around, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see. I
Card-
mean,
card draw's
from-
getting
from the way
better
you're
and better
talking,
anyway.
like,
It's not going anywhere.
This plot, it feels like you're afraid of this plot.
well, I am concerned because the rivers are really the first kind of plot type to give us such easy access to reveal and grab a card. Reveal and add to, what do they call it? Reveal and add it to your
Add to your
hand. Because typically, it's like your plot deck isn't really the source of cards for you. Like negotiations was a big deal because it was like, card advantage in the plot deck now is kind of a significant thing.
And it's restricted.
And yeah, it's restricted, but I'm just saying easy access to cards whenever there's a lot of powerful archetypes that rely almost solely on having a quantity of cards because the quality is so high.
Mhm.
I'm saying it's something to watch out for.
Yeah.
I think this is definitely this is a plot that makes rivers worth looking at
Mhm.
really seriously, which I love. Like they've been given a lot of rivers, and the rivers have not been given a lot of love. So
They have not.
This to me, like,
just keep putting them out, man.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Eventually
there
it'll
will be
click.
6 or 7.
Would you rather have a few good ones or like 20 mediocre ones?
Yeah, there it is.
We'll go that route.
So I don't know. I mean, I like it. I don't think it's too much. Maybe if it does become too much, it gets restricted. But that's fine.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I don't think this will get restricted, but I think we will see a 3-river phase of a plot deck in the top 4 at Nationals. I think one of those decks will have.
He's betting on the rivers.
Will have the 3-river cycle of some kind.
Red wine in this really
Yeah.
amped it up.
I think the thing that you can really start anticipating, though, is that we've seen those plot cycling decks before, and rivers, I think, take advantage of plot cycling even more than cities did. But then Lannister just as everybody knows, is getting that Wheels Within Wheels plot in this coming cycle. So there's at least one, if not more, ways to accelerate your ability to just move through your plots rapidly. And I think that's where these river plots are really going to shine, is if you build a deck around just abusing your
plot 6 by
turn 2 or 3 or something like that. I think that's really where these river plots start to matter. But if you're going to keep playing them just kind of like reveal 1 on each turn, I really don't think you should run these. I think you should go city plots, at least as it stands now, or something else. Just do your classic mishmash of powerful plots that we've had and have been getting over these last few cycles. Rally Cries, as has been mentioned, is great. And what was that? Called by the Conclave. We got this last.
Oh my God! Summoned by the Conclave.
Yeah,
man.
Summoned by the Conclave. There's just
shoot me in the foot.
There's just too many things.
So good.
There's just too many things that you're giving up for this, and if it's just at the kind of standard tempo of plot reveal, I don't think it's worth it.
One more thing on that end. First of all, 3 Floodwaters, but then you have Conquest coming out, right? So now the plot cyclers can connect, where you have
they make sweet babies.
You have Shadows Aryan that we just came out with a new plot. You have Bran, of course, and Stark. Can those two get together and just reveal a ton of plots?
Yeah.
And then you can run 6 Rookers if you want to.
And Floodwaters are essentially a duplication anyway. So yeah.
Targ has a handful of.
That's probably a deck.
That's probably a deck.
Citadel Wall, is that the one that makes you to reveal a new plot?
Yeah.
That card.
I will say that every deck that I've ever lost to Greg, when he was playing it, had plot manipulation to the max in it. So that's something to take home. It's like somebody who consistently wins and consistently has those same kind of mechanics in their deck. The plot deck is a very important.
I mean, just talking about plots for a second, I think the reason that is just because plots are so powerful.
Massively.
And you get to pick when and how they get played. Other cards in your deck you may or may never see. You could have 3 of a card in your deck and never see it. Yeah. You will always see your plots.
Yeah.
So I think consistency starts there in this game.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, guys. That's Crossing the Mummers Ford. 3/1/1, New River coming down the pipe. And that is in the Spoils of War chapter pack, I believe. The cycle is coming
First
up.
Pack of the next cycle.
So
Conquest and Defiance.
So we're going to see if this is really all that it's cracked up to be. It's up to you to either break it or bend it. Is that a thing? Can we make that a thing now?
Card bending? No, you'd never want to bend cards.
Bend it till it falls.
It's good coming from Robert, who ships all of our cards. So thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you. If you want that pack, by the way, why don't you buy it? Seems like a good thing to do.
Or you could just be a subscriber.
Or be a subscriber. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. It's like buying it, except easier. So
happens automatically,
I feel like we
with
need
no
insert
hassle.
Infomercial here.
Do any of those things, and
you
we'll
just
keep
set
producing
it and forget it.
this great content for you. Hopefully you dig it. We'll see you next time. Thanks.